Okay, so in this video tutorial, just I'm going to set up an identity in our project. So first of all, I want to tell you what identity I want to use it here. That is the .NET 8 based identity, and you can just search it because .NET actually release a new identity endpoints for the sparse applications. I mean to say that sparse, I mean to say that is a single page application. So you can search it map identities for the spa, and here you just enter in the first endpoint, that is use identity. Okay, and here we have a how to use identity to secure a web API, that is web API backend for the spas applications, that is single page application. And here we have some NuGet packages you want to install it here, that is the SQL Server, and Microsoft ASP.NET Core.identity.entity framework core for this one. So I want to install first of all the that is the map identity endpoints. So you need to add NuGet packages like Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.identity, or you can just add Microsoft.extensions Microsoft.extensions.identity.store. That namespace is actually contain the store informations or the identity informations. So you can just install it, like latest stable is 10.0.17, but here you can see that here we have a use cases, that is or entity, that is the app user, and app user have the identity user, and identity user have lots of properties. And if you want to change something, like you can just set it first name, last name, and addresses. Now after that you can just add the identity user inside your data store, or the eStore.cs file. So here we have a eStore, that is my DB context, and here you can use identity DB context with the application user. Okay, that's pretty good. Now after that you can just set it your map identity endpoints, and here we have a map identity endpoints are so the first step you to go for the identity DB context with the identity user, but I just go for the app user because I want to add some more information for the user, like the first name and the last name and the addresses. So that's why we use app user here. And also your store or DB context is also use application user. Now after that you can just go for the next step for the configure for the EF core context, and EF core context have contained the DB context, application DB context, and your use in memory. Instead of use memory in memory, I just use SQL Server. So here we have a connection string, or the register connection string in program.cs file, that is for this one. Okay, now the next step is to going for add identity service to the container. So that is builder.service.add authorizations, and after that you can just go for the activate identities API by using this line of code, that is builder.services add identity API endpoints, and that is identity user. Instead of identity user you can use app user. So just copied it and paste. Just after that you can see here we have a builder.services.add identity API endpoints, that is the so here you can see that add identity API endpoints, that is app user, and add role with the identity role, add entity framework store, that is eStore. Okay, so also I want to use it here, that is map API endpoints, because you can see that in the code that here we have a activate identity API, that you can set it here, that is add identity API endpoints, and identity API endpoints is like that. This is your builder dot so register your API endpoints with the application user instead of identity user, and other one is the same. And if you want to include the roles in your application, that you can use add roles with the identity roles. Okay, so now the next one is the map identity routes, that is you need to add app.map identity API, that is identity user. So you can use application user instead of identity user. So you can just set it just after the map API endpoints just here. So here we have a app.map identity API. With the identity user, you can just set it app user. Okay. So now just after that, you can just go for the secure selected endpoints. And what is the secure selected endpoints? That means you can use require authorizations, or you can just set it the authorize attribute just after before your any controller start. Now the next one is to you test the API endpoints with this data. Okay, so first of all I want to close it my eShop projects, and just after that I want to go for the migrations. And you can see that here we have an initial migration, and you can see that is the address entity, ASP.NET role entity, delivery methods, products, ASP.NET users. So already they're in a applications role, and the claims and everything, so just I want to test my API endpoints like register and the login functionality. So here you can see that test the API with the test registration page. And what is the registration page? That is the email and the passwords. So I want to first to test the API. Now just open it and test the API endpoint in the eShop. So just raise the new request, and just you can use login, and you can just put it the that is my application actually hosted on this page. And here you can just put it this URL, that is the register only. So you can just put it register, and after that you can just use body, row, and the JSON. And here you can just put it email and the password. So just copy and paste, and here we have an email that is the test. This is test@gmail.com, and the password is pass@1234. okay, or you can say just pass $123 okay. So this is the password, and just go for the send button. But here we have a method not allowed. I mean to say that here we have a just get it. You can just put it post instead of the get. So just click to send button again, and here you can see that here we have a 200. I mean to say that email and the password are stored in the database. So there is nothing to add any controller here for related to the users informations. And you know that account controller is an empty controller. So already provide a API endpoint by the by the Microsoft.NET 8. okay. And if you want to go for the login functionality, so you can just test the login. So you can just put it email and the password and any other things. okay, so you can just go for the login instead of register. So here we have a login, so you can just change the name with the register, and after that you can just add a new endpoints, that is the login functionality. So you can just put it login, and here we go for the 7284 register. Instead of register, you can just put it login functionality. okay, and pass the information, that is the test@gmail.com, and the password is pass123$. So just go for this one, and 415 unsupported media type. I mean to say that there we have a text. So instead of the JSON, I want to provide the JSON and get the correct result. So that is the correct result, and here we have a access token. So that is my access token here, and I want to use this to access the other information related to the users. okay, so that is my register and the login functionality. If you want to change the register and the login functionality with the other information like the first name and the last name, you can just go to create custom accounts controller. Now I want to go for the custom accounts controller here and set up the username, first name, and the last name also in our applications. So there we have a account controller, and I want to use it here, that is sign in manager. So here we go for the sign in manager with the application user. So here you can use application user. okay, sign in manager is actually responsible to sign in your user and check the user is already signed in or not, and provide the user manager also. So you can just go for the sign in manager. So here we have a sign in manager, and I want to set up a register endpoints first. So here we go for the HTTP post, and HTTP post have a register sign in. So that there we go for the register and public and async. There we go for the task and action result and the register, and here we go for the register DTO. So I want to go for the first one is the register DTO class, register DTO. Okay, and this is one the register DTO. Okay, so just create a DTOs folder inside your APIs. So here I'm going to add a new folder that is DTOs. Now you can just add a DTOs class here, CS file, and inside the register DTO you can just add use first name, last name, and email and the password. So you can just put it required required, and I'm going to add the first name first. Okay, so this is your string first name, and here I'm taking empty value first, string.empty. Now the same thing you can do, just select it and you press the Control D for the replicate. So first name you can just put it last name. The same thing for the email also, just copy and paste for the email. And then next one is that is the password, so you can just put it password here. So email, last name, first name, and the password is set it here. Now the next one is register DTO, use control dot and resolve the namespace problems. Now after that you can just go for the user manager class, because user manager class is responsible to add a new user. Okay, so where user is new app user, and what is the first name is register DTO dot first name, last name is what, that is the last name, and email, and the last one is the password. And also you can use that username here. So what is the username? Register DTO dot email is the username. Okay, now the next one is I want to register the user first, so where result and await, you can put it sign in manager dot user manager dot create async, and that is the user. And here you can just go for the password, so register DTO dot password. Okay, now if result is not succeeded, so you can just go for a result not succeeded, so you can just register the errors. Okay, so first to register the errors, if the result is not succeeded, so you can just use for each loop to register the errors. So here we have a error and the result dot errors, that's fine. I want to go for the model state to register the errors. So model state dot add model error, and add model error is what, that is a function name, and here you can just set the key and the error messages. So error is, that is error dot code, and the next one is the error dot description. Okay, now the next one is you can just set, if the result is not succeeded, then you just go for the validation problems. So return validation problem. Okay, now if the result is succeeded, then just return the OK message, return OK. So this is your registration page, and after that registration you need to add the logout page. So you need to add a logout with the authorize attribute. So you can add the authorize and also add the http post method, and you can just put it the logout. So you can just add logout here. Okay, now after that you can just set it public async and task of action result, and you can use logout here. Okay, so you can use await sign in manager dot sign out async function. Now the next one is return to return no content. Okay, now the next one is I'm going to set up the get the user info. If the user is authorized and you want to get the user information, so you can just put it http get here, and I want to get the user info, so you can just put it user info, and you can just set it public async task, and that is your action result get user info. Okay, and if the user is authorized or authenticated, you can just get the user information user dot identity. Sorry, that is identity only. So user dot identity is the claim principal, or you can say that list of the claims. So user dot identity dot is authenticated. So if the user is authenticated is false, then I mean to say that return no content, and that is where user and await sign in manager dot user manager dot get user by email. I want to get the user by email. So sign in manager dot user manager dot users dot first or default, and I want to get it x tends to x dot email is double equals to that is the users. So that is the user, that is authenticated user, you can say. So that is the claim principal. That user is just get from the claim principal. You can just put it that is my claim principles. So where we have a multiple claims, so that is the find first value, or you can just get the email. So that is the claim types dot email. Okay, so you just put get the email, that is the find first value if both are the email and the email are fine. So await is here, so you can just put it the await first or default async here. Okay, first or default async. Now you know that here we have a email, so just get the application user by the email. Okay, so user, if the user is authenticated, so you just get it user dot find first value and the claims types dot email. But I want to set up these things because I want to get the user by the email with the claim principal. That thing is actually stored in the claim principal extensions. So you can just put it here extension method instead of other things. So you can just add a extension method that is, so first of all put it extensions here, and inside your extensions you just add the claim principal extensions. Okay, so you just add a new class claim principal extensions, and here we have a claim principal extensions class that is must to set it the static class. The name of the extensions is wrong, so just correct it with their proper naming conventions. Spelling extensions to claim principal extensions, that's fine. So save it and also rename this file. Okay, now here we have a claim principal extensions. Now that make it the static class, and here you can just add the functions. Like the first function is get user by email. So that claim principal is actually get from the user, so I want to set call from the user manager first. So and return public static and async function, and that is my task, and that is app user, and that is get user by email, and this is this user manager. I want to use it here, user manager of application user, that is user manager. And also I want to use the claim principle, so the next one is the claims principle, and the claim principle is user. Now I want to send the application user if the user manager, and here we have a claim principle, that is user. Now also set up the new method, that is the get email. So public and static string, I want to just return it the string first, that is the get email. And get email actually take the claim principle. That I mean to say that this extension method call from the claim principles. So claim principle is here, and that is the user. Okay, so you can just got the email from the user dot find first value, that is the same thing, claim types dot email. If it is null, so you can just put it is, if it is null, then throw new error, throw new authentication exception, and authentication exception is actually existing in system.security.authentication. If it is null, and you can just put it email claim not found inside your claim principle. So if it is found, then return email. So here you can just add a user manager, and the claim principle is user. So the same line here you can use it, sign in manager dot user manager dot users dot find first value, that is email, user dot find first value, that is user, and user is what, that is the claim principle. So find first value, I mean to say that claim types dot email. So the same thing you can use it here, because get email is also there. So you can use it where, and user to return, I mean, because I want to return the application user first. So await user manager dot users dot first or default async, because the same line I want to use it here, that is user manager dot users dot find first value. So first or default async. So here you just put it, the first thing is x dot email, and email is what, email is double equals to, I want to get this email. So you can just put it user is a claim principle user, and just call the function from the user, get email. Okay, so here you just return it the user application user, and also if that user to return is double equals to null, then throw new authentication exception, and that is user not found. Now after that, return user to return. So that line of code in the account controller is replaced with this code. So use sign in manager actually call this function that is get user by email, and that function is actually called that get email. So user manager is calling just direct that function get, that is the function name, that is get user by email. So dot get user by email, and I want to pass the user information. Okay, so what is the user? That is the claim principal user, and that is existing in the authenticated user. So you just return, just you get the user info, and I want to return okay, and with their new object and the new data like user dot name, like user dot first name. Okay, now the same thing is user dot last name, user dot email, and address is user dot address, and I want to change it in the DTO. So address going to DTO to DTO. I want to change after some times. So what is inside the roles? I want to get the roles first. Roles is user, that is user dot find first value in the token, or you can say in the claims. So claim types dot role I want to get from the users. Okay, if any role provide to the user, so that get the user and send back to the informations to the user. Okay, and if you want to get the status of the user, then you just set it auth status. So first of all, I want to change the address in the authentication method. So address mapping extension, you can just set it here. So add a new extension class, that is address mapping extension. Address mapping, address mapping extension, and we will continue in the next video. Thank you very much for this video.